Hey guys, welcome to the Happy Sad Confused Holiday Benefit. I'm Josh Horowitz. I hope you guys are having a great holiday season. Hopefully you're spending it with friends and family, and at the very least, I'm thrilled you're here with us for the next hour. Look, I like to think that everything I do is a labor of love, but this annual event is a special one. Most of you are watching this live. Welcome. You are awesome. Thank you for supporting Symphony Space and Community Works' work on the Harlem Is website, where all proceeds from this are going. If you want to check out what Harlem is all about, please go to their website, harlem-is.org. More on that later. So this year, when I was thinking of someone for this event, I truly only had one name in mind. He was the first and only person I asked, and he did not hesitate, as he foolishly never has over the years, for our conversations and our very silly exploits. Please welcome a brilliant actor, a friend, a man as at home on Asgard as he is on the stage or on a Zoom box today. It's the one and only Tom Hiddleston. Drum roll. Ta-da!
Hi. Hello, everybody. Josh, I've never been more nervous in my life. As you were about to say my name, your face froze and I lost connection with you. But we're here, we're speaking, we win.
It's a holiday miracle. Thank you, buddy. As always, it means a tremendous amount that you're spending this time off with me. First, give us all a sense of where you're at. Is this time off for you? Are you in the middle of work? Have you had some downtime? Where are you at in your life right now?
Yes. First of all, thank you so much for asking me to do this. It was the most cheerful invitation and was impossible to say no. I hope you like my festive decoration in your in your honor. So it's what are we, this December, so coming to last week of term, and I don't know why I'm still wedded to institutional calendars, but this feels like the last week of before everyone breaks up from school and the holidays begin.
Right.
And it has been a busy couple of weeks. I'm doing little bits and pieces, but yes, we're coming to the end now, and time for caroling.
I have noticed. Yeah, well, now the caroling begins. I have noticed that you've been out and about a bit. I saw you pick up a People's Choice Award. That's pretty cool.
Thank you very much. Honor. What an honor that is.
So you ran into some pretty cool folks there. Have you and The Rock shared significant time prior to the People's Choice Award?
No, that's the first time I've ever met him, and I'm a great admirer, as you may know. He's just extremely kind, and we've kind of exchanged notes. We've exchanged because I think he's based in Atlanta or spent a lot of time there. And we made Loki in Atlanta. And from my memory, I believe in the wake of the first lockdown and the cessation of all filming activities in the US, Loki and Red Notice were among the very first productions to recommence. So we felt very much like, both back at the starting line, wondering how it was going to go. And while I was making Loki, he actually sent a note to me personally, which is just incredibly gracious and really kind. And I was able to thank him in person. And it was amazing. I love meeting him.
You're also now at the stage of your career when the next generation of actors is geeking out upon meeting you. Simu Liu, of course, the new action star in the MCU. I don't know if you knew this, but he apparently, when people asked him, he's amazing, right? So charismatic, so talented. When he was cast a couple of years ago on Twitter, I think someone asked him to the effect of like, what are you most excited about joining the MCU? And he tweeted, hugging Tom Hiddleston. So last week he said, he did it. Accomplishments achieved.
Well, I think these are just the foothills of Simu's ambitions, there are many, many more mountains to climb. That's hilarious. That's hilarious. We love Simu, love Shang-Chi, Yes, also a project he made in a pandemic, and to feel a special kinship with those who were kind of making stuff during this time. And
yeah,
the challenge was, and he was breathtaking in it. I had this funny thing with Simi where I met him the day after he got the role in San Diego Comic-Con.
Right.
And we shared this, went up in this elevator together, and he was so excited, and it was the most charming thing to see, because his life was clearly about to change, or had just changed. And he said, do you have any advice? And I completely froze, because I always think, oh, you don't need any advice from me, come on. Like, you know, you wouldn't be here if you didn't know what you were doing. But we had a really nice conversation, and I remember it very fondly. And I sort of referred to, we wrote to each other after Shang-Chi came out. A great man, and many, many great things in his future.
I'm curious, when you think back to your youth and admiring people in film, TV, and especially theater, like, were you ever the guy that hung out at the stage door waiting to meet or get an autograph from an actor?
I was too shy. I was too nervous. And I thought, and I'm trying to think, actually. I never did it because I was too in awe of the actors I admired. And I would always think, oh, they don't want to talk to me, you know, they've got to do it all again tomorrow or whatever. And but I do remember, was really honored when I was in a play and Alan Rickman came to see it, and he came backstage to say hello, and he addressed me by name, and I thought a sort of spotlight had, you know, gone on me. I thought, how does he know my name? It's one of my great heroes. And he was so gracious and kind and supportive and encouraging, and complimentary. That was a really great. And the first time I attended the BAFTA Film Awards, which usually take place in February here in London, I can't remember, it was the year I was a guest of Joanna Hogg, the film director who I did my first two films with, and something happened afterwards where during the middle of, there was a kind of break in proceedings, and I was coming back from the bathroom, and it was a sort of split level venue. There was a big staircase. Everybody else was sitting down, and Daniel Day-Lewis was coming up the stairs, and there was nobody else around. And I thought, I just made a split-second decision to just tell him. I introduced myself. I said, really don't want to take up your time, but I just want to let you know how much you're such an inspiration to me, and have admired you for a long time, and it's such an honor to meet you. And he was so lovely. He was just so kind.
Yeah, he's one of those people that you don't imagine actually existing in the real world. And I know, sorry, let me actually make a blanket thing to the audience. I know the connection between me and Tom is a little bit glitchy, so bear with us as we navigate the crazy Zoom world of 2021. We're doing our best. But I was going to say, Daniel Day-Lewis, I mean, like we've talked about, like, I know like the last 10 minutes of Last of the Mohicans is one of the things we've bonded over the years. It's like the great sequence in all of film. So
yeah. And I saw that when I can't remember how old I was. I must have been 11 or 12. And it sort of opened up my imagination in a really profound and new way. And it feels very significant when you meet people who've inspired you in that way. So
in addition to having a lovely catch up with Tom today, we've got some goodies for the audience out there. Tom was kind enough to sign a few things, and if you'll do us the honor, Tom, you want to announce our first giveaway winner? As he freezes up. Oh no.
No, I'm here. I am. Our first giveaway winner, I'm pleased to say, is Natalie Allen. Congratulations, Natalie.
I'm going to scream for Natalie. Natalie, you will be notified on how to get this lovely giveaway. And if you don't hear from us, feel free to email happysadconfused.tom@gmail.com. We'll get your info. We'll sort it all out. We've also asked for some questions for you, Tom. We're going to go to our first video question for you. This comes from Charlotte. Let's take a look.
Hi Tom, my name's Charlotte. My friend recently got to see you perform in the play What I Wrote, and you very kindly spoke to me on the phone after the show. We were just wondering, how did the opportunity to do a show like that come about, and would you be looking to do more comedy shows like it in the future?
So the play What I Wrote.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Yeah. Wow, that's such a great, sweet question. Yes. The play What I Wrote. Josh, are you familiar with the play What I Wrote?
I saw it way back when it visited here in the States many years ago.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did it come about? It's the play What I Wrote is an original play co-written by Sean Foley and Hamish McColl. And they were part of a double act, very much sort of doing comedy and physical theatre called The Right Size. Actually, I saw them in the 90s, in 99, I think, at the Edinburgh Festival, long before I knew who they were. And Sean Foley, one half of the duo, had played Polonius, Hamlet, in which I played Hamlet, directed by Kenneth Branagh in 2017. Polonius is a tremendous part, and any production of Hamlet is incomplete without a great actor playing Polonius, who's the father of Ophelia and Laertes, and he's full of high sentence and often played very, very with great kindliness and sweetness, but a little bit of I don't know,
bit of a blowhard, a bit of a
yeah, but it's yeah. and he's innocent as well, and he's innocent. He's very tragically killed in an accident. Anyway, I knew Sean from that time. Sean knew Kenneth Branagh because Kenneth Branagh had directed the play What I Wrote in 2003 in London and New York. And the play What I Wrote is a play, it's literally a play about act, trying to one half, actually in our production, two actors, Dennis Herdman and Tom Tuck, played a double act. And Dennis wants to do the old routines, and Tom wants to leave the double act and become a serious playwright. And the whole play is about this tension that they're trying to leave each other. And Dennis is like, "Come on, let's do the old jokes." And Dennis says, "No, I'm done with all this stuff." And eventually, they get a call from a leading theatre producer saying, here's money for a show, but it has to be about Morecambe and Wise, the legendary British comedy double act. And so they decide eventually to do this Morecambe and Wise tribute show, but they need a star or a mystery guest who will help them. And the great conceit is that every performance has a new mystery guest.
Right.
And throughout the show, he's going to do it, but he's stuck in the pub, or Richard E. Grant's going to do it, or or Sting is around the corner, or
right,
or Scarlett Johansson's, she said she wants to do it, blah, blah, blah. And the audience get used to these people not turning up. And then at some point in our production, I say, well, but Tom Hiddleston's apparently did it, and I was like, well, he's not showing up. And then I walk on stage left, and then the great conceit, the great comedy moment is that they don't think I'm the real Tom Hiddleston. Right. The first thing Dennis says is, he says, "Tom, don't panic, but there is a drunk upon the stage," and then he barges past and says, "Madam, only professionals allowed up here. Back to your seat, please." And I try to convince them that it's really me, but they don't believe me. And they say, "Well, what have you done?" And I say things like, "Have you seen my Coriolanus?" And Dennis goes, "Not from here, I can't." I've done 6 Marvel films. That's a matter of opinion, son. I'm Loki. You're high maintenance tonight. And so it goes on. But it was an opportunity to make a fool out of myself and poke fun at the idea of acting, and I loved it.
Yeah, for those that didn't see, let's pop up these images really quickly, just in case you didn't get a chance to see it. This is Tom as you've never seen him before. We'll run through. There he is. This is the Tom of my dreams. Let's go to the next one. Yep. Yeah. Next one. That's an action shot amazing. And finally, yeah, oh, well, that's drama right there. So yes, the play what I wrote, amazing. Thank you. We can
especially the dressing gown. That's real. That's what all actors wear when they're preparing to
You've also taken in some other theater. You saw your buddy, I believe, Eddie Redmayne recently in Cabaret. He's playing the MC in a production with Jessie Buckley, which I'm very jealous you got a chance to see. You and Eddie go back way back. What was it like to see him on stage? Yeah. And can you give me a sense of your first relationship memories of Eddie way back when?
You know, the production is absolutely amazing. Directed by Rebecca Frecknell and designed by Tom Scott. And they've taken a theatre, the Playhouse Theatre, which is just by Embankment Tube Station in London, and have redesigned it and have turned it into a space I didn't recognize and I found extremely exciting. So you entering the Kit Kat Club, and I've been to the Playhouse before, and I don't know how they did it, but you almost entering a real kind of underground cabaret review bar or something like it. And the commitment of the whole ensemble, I mean, I found it very moving after all this time to one company, and my goodness, what numbers they are in Cabaret. The whole company are without exception absolutely stunning, and both Eddie and Jessie are truly sensational in it. And I think there's this magical alchemy that Eddie has with this part. He may have already talked about it, but he did it when he was a student, and I saw it.
Oh, wow.
I saw him I saw him like a month ago or something, and I said, "This is your signature role, isn't it?" He said, "Don't say that, I don't know." It could be. But there's something, he is so charismatic and seductive and theatrical. He just holds the whole room. Yeah. But then anyone who's seen that play before or seen the movie, the piece itself is extremely chilling and haunting, and is extraordinary. And so it makes because Eddie's so charismatic, it actually kind of redoubles the impact of the piece.
Right.
This rising tide in the background that everyone's turning a blind eye to. So it has a really big effect. Yeah.
I was going to say, going back, when you look at the young actors you grew up with and came of age with, Eddie and Benedict, et cetera, like, who was the first one that broke out? Who was the first one that kind of had that first brush of success?
I don't know, probably Eddie, I think. I mean, yeah. I was aware I was still training at drama school, and Eddie was already working. And I remember he was in a production of The Goat, or Who is Sylvia, by Edward Albee.
Edward Albee, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Jonathan Pryce was in it, and it was at the Almeida in London. He was good in it. It was such a beautiful role. And I was still at drama school thinking, wow, Eddie's on his way. And also Benedict, he won't thank me for saying this, is a little older than I am. And he always will be. I remember going to see him around the same time in a production of Hedda Gabler, in which he played George Tesman, production with Eve Best and Ian Glenn, which is really great. And I remember thinking, wow, Benedict is brilliant. But there were so many actors around that time. Ben Whishaw was 2 years ahead of me at drama school, and I remember seeing him in his final year shows and thinking, he's really good. And he left and played Hamlet. I think it's going to be okay. But he was so brilliant. It was almost a reinterpretation, a reinvigoration of the idea of Hamlet. Yeah, probably Eddie, I would think. Dan Stevens was in a great thing called The Line of Beauty.
Oh, wow.
Adaptation of a book by Alan Hollinghurst.
Is there anyone in the MCU repertoire that you'd like to see on stage or work with on stage that you could imagine would be fun to mix it up with? And
oh my goodness, all of them. There are some who kind of, you know, for whom they come from the theatre and they go back to the theatre, and it's sort of a part of their sort of performing engine, I suppose. But it's really interesting in a way, I suppose, from the thing that started in Billy Elliot, and Mark Ruffalo comes from the theatre, and Chris Evans is a great stage actor and has done Broadway, and Scarlett's done lots of theatre in New York, hasn't she? She's done,
I've seen her, A View from the Bridge. I saw her in, absolutely.
Bridge. Haley Atwell is a great, you know, theatre actress and has done a huge amount here in London. And Jonathan Majors would be great. Definitely a theatrical animal, I think. I hope you wouldn't mind me saying that. I think he would be flattered by it. Everybody is. I'm actually looking, you'll forgive me, on the wall is the Marvel Studios first 10 years photograph. So, Paul Rudd is a great stage actor. Yes. Jeff Goldblum. Jeff Goldblum was in the play What I Wrote in New York. Who was the mystery guest when you saw it?
To be honest, it's probably that 2003 production. I don't remember. I remember laughing a lot, but
Nathan Lane, Liam Neeson, maybe.
These both ring true. I don't remember. Yeah. I wish
Roger
I could
Moore.
Pretend.
Roger Moore did it, I think.
I definitely would remember Roger Moore. How about this? Let me bring up another old friend of yours that I know you caught up with recently. Belfast. You got a chance to see Kenneth Branagh's Belfast, which I love. What a beautiful personal story. Yeah. For those that don't know, this is kind of a telling of his youth. I'm curious, when you look at your own youth, is there a period of your life that would make for a good dramatic tale in stage, screen, any form?
How interesting that you asked that question. Is this extraordinary memory for all of us. It's in so many ways. Only when a few years have passed can any of us look back and realize that certain things happened that opened doors and closed other doors and brought you into contact with various things that now are the sort of cornerstone of your life, or the people that have become the cornerstone of your life. I loved Belfast, and I saw it again last night.
Oh wow!
And I found it very. Obviously, I know Kenneth Branagh pretty well by now, and I find it very moving that he's been so open with audiences about probably a not very well known aspect of him and a time in his life, and he's also very honest about the idea that the film is not based on what happened, but based on his memory of what happened.
Right.
And so certain aspects, it's really a boy's view of a particular moment in time, and a boy's view of his parents, and a boy's view of his grandparents. And it's extremely touching. I find it really moving, and the performances are just beautiful. And it's funny, I asked Ken about it, and I said, when did you kind of have this idea, have you been, when did you sit down to write this? And he said during the first lockdown, he sat down and started writing it. And it came out very quickly, but he says it was it took about 3 weeks to write it, plus 55 years. It's sort of you're sorting out the memories of what happened. And I don't know, I'm probably still sorting. I'm probably in that period of 55 years.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll check back in with you every once in a while about it. Let's give away another giveaway, shall we, Tom? What's the next name on the list?
Yeah, the next name on the list, I'm pleased to tell you, is Sabrina Estrada. Sabrina Estrada, congratulations, well done. I hope you like what's what Santa is sending your way.
I think she'll appreciate it. I want to mention for a second, take a pause to mention why we're even doing this, because this is an event that exists. Yes, for me to catch up with Tom and all of us to enjoy each other's company, but it's also to spread the good word and raise some money for something very close to me. Many years ago, my mom, who's watching this, by the way, started a nonprofit arts organization in New York called Community Works NYC. She and the organization are going strong. In recent years, Community Works has launched Harlem Is, which is a one-of-a-kind website dedicated to celebrating and chronicling the remarkable history of Harlem. In the last year, they celebrated local heroes of the pandemic. Over the years, they put on countless performance workshops and public programs by and for the community. If you're feeling at all curious about what I'm talking about, or if you're even feeling generous to contribute more, check out harlem-is.org. That's harlem-is.org. It happens to be my mom's work, but it is a worthy organization nonetheless. Every dollar counts. So thank you guys for letting me get that plug in there. And thank you again, Tom, for helping what I think is a very good cause. So
yes, an honor. It's an honor. And very nice to meet you somewhere out there, Josh's mom.
So let's talk some Loki. I know people want to hear a bit about Loki. Talk to me a little bit about what an amazing, this series couldn't have gone better for you creatively in terms of the reception. What a relief, what an exciting time it must have been. When you started the discussions with Marvel and the creative team, did you have any trepidation? Like, what was was there a worry going in as you approached this new incarnation of the character?
That's a good question. I suppose I didn't want to break it. I didn't want to break him. I wanted to retain everything we had made, which had been made with such care and collaboration and commitment, and wanted to make sure that we could honor that while also inventing something new, because there was no point in going back to the well and to the same water. And so that was it felt like initially a delicate needle to thread, I suppose. But we had enough time and knew about it. I felt very confident that we were heading in a really interesting direction. So I suppose that's why all the Marvel keeping things under wraps is a good thing in a way, because it sometimes it allows you time to get under to get underneath something and really lay some proper story foundations and synchronize watches and organize the hymn sheet and really sing from the same one. And by the time we started really cooking, we were all of us in sync, and that felt very exciting.
What do you think that the boldest or smartest creative decision in retrospect was? What was whether it was a creative hire, a casting decision, a story arc? What was the turning point, you think, for making this one work?
Well, it's sort of to the credit of many people, but it probably would be Loki and the TVA. That idea in and of itself, it became the gateway to so many ideas, which became the center of the show. And credit for that belongs with Kevin Wright and Stephen Broussard at Marvel Studios, and Michael Waldron and Kate Herron, and all four of those individuals really kind of took that on. And I also should mention Kasra Farahani and our production designer, Christine Wada, our costume designer, and Autumn Gerald, our director of photography, because it was a team game, and we were all trying to build this world together, a new world. So you have this character that everybody knows in a completely different world that nobody knows. And so building and inventing the rules and inventing the internal bureaucratic logic and this nightmarish institutional quality that the TVA has. Because I say the TVA gave way to all the conversations about fate and free will and predeterminism and order versus chaos. And is order something we like, or is chaos occasionally something we need? And Loki is the god of mischief and chaos, and maybe that could be how you put Loki at the center of his own story, and the force of his own free will becomes something that teaches everybody else about who they are and teaches himself something new. The confrontation of it, the genesis of the character of Moby, non-judgmental auditor in a way, or teacher who could sort of confront Loki with his own reality and show him his flaws, and that armed with knowledge of his flaws, could he then be challenged to change, and that change would be honest and authentic and real, and therefore exciting for me and exciting for the audience to watch, because then you think, oh, there's this character I know, but he's doing slightly different things, or is he? Or is it the same cycle of trust and betrayal and trust and betrayal and trust and betrayal? So that's my long answer, Loki and the TVA.
Let's, as you can imagine, there are a bunch of questions pertaining to you and Loki from the fans. Let's go to this fan question from Helen. Take a look.
Hi Tom, I'm Helen, and I was wondering, what about Loki as a character drew you to the role originally that you still find exciting now after playing him for a whole 10 years? Bye, Tom.
Thank you, Helen. Well, that was a very lovely question. What drew me to the role originally? I think it was probably mischief, playfulness, complexity, that he is a wounded soul in need of and looking for redemption, a broken heart that could be healed, and an outsider looking for a sense of meaning and a sense of belonging. And I think those things are all still there. It's a great thing, the soul of him. They're still there. They're always happy.
I like this next question because it's about both Loki and music, two of your loves. So let's take a look. This is a question from Julie and James. Take a look.
Hi, I'm Julie.
And I'm James, and we have a question for Tom. We both love music and we're big fans of Loki, so our question is:
if Loki had Spotify, which 3 songs would make up his top 3 most listened to? We're looking forward to the live stream. Bye, thank you.
Things. 3, let's do, if I'm allowed, there were 2 of you, so I'm going to answer this twice. One for like what I listened to and one for he would listen to.
Love
it. For Loki's energy, I think it's a kind of, I would say, One More Time by Daft Punk. Read into that what you will. But it evokes in me a very playful energy, and so I find that helpful. The soundtrack to Dunkirk recently, I've become, it's become a kind of like a tuning fork for me, particularly Supermarine and Variation 15, and that's by Hans Zimmer and Benjamin Wallfish, working with and expanding motifs of Nimrod by Edward Elgar, which I find very beautiful and profound. And time was Everybody Dance by Chic and Nile Rodgers, because we were in a pandemic and we needed to dance. so that's what I listen to.
Yep.
I don't expect Loki to agree with any of those choices. So I wonder whether he might listen to the Ode to Joy by Ludwig van Beethoven. It's also very Christmassy somehow, but maybe there's some connection between joy and mischief. Sure. Any number of riffs on, I don't know. I'm just, Nice is very revealing. It's just music I listen to. Ode to Joy. Ode to Joy. Let It Be. Let It Be. I missed the by the Beatles.
Oh, Let It Be. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Let It Be. Let It Be. Sorry, that was a crucial one to. Yeah, I think he would need to hear that often, just like Let It Be. Don't Look Back in Anger by Oasis, which is a favorite of mine. So again, all of these are sort of slightly
very revealing about Tom Hiddleston as they are Loki.
He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother as a bonus track. Maybe.
Perfect. Well, one more fan question on the Loki front. This one comes from Julia. Let's take a look.
Hi there, Josh and Tom. Tom, I know you've done a lot of great acting, but I want to know more about your work as a producer. So I want to know what your favorite contribution to a project as a producer was, or your favorite thing just in general about the position. Happy holidays, everyone.
Oh, thanks, Julia. Looks very cold where you are. So thank you. But that's a great question, and I'm really pleased you asked it. So, I feel quite sort of, I don't know if I could properly call myself a producer, because producing films is an extraordinary and very, very highly skilled task, especially if you're the lead producer on something and you're responsible for everything and everyone that happens on any given filming day. But I have twice been an executive producer, once on The Night Manager and once on Loki for Disney+. And I can tell you what that's involved for me is it's really an invitation to be in productions which are much more in the engine room, if you like, of the development of story and structure and tone and character and arcs and some of the sort of the balancing act of what it means to make films and come up with schedules and so deciding when to film something and in what order and how complex a specific sequence is going to be and how much time to spend on it and how important it is to the story. But also, I think probably the most rewarding aspect for me was sitting in the room. And people talk about, to use a phrase from Lin-Manuel Miranda, to be in the room where it happens. And so you're in story meetings and you're in development meetings. And there's lots of people who have a big role to play in the production: a director, a writer, an actor, a producer, and together you're part of what feels like a very small group of passionate people who care about the material very much and want it to be the best it can be. And in development often, or through a production at the weekend, if you meet on a Saturday morning or something, those conversations allow time for long and interesting discussions about what is this about? What are we communicating to an audience? What's the soul of this piece? What's the heart of it? And is every scene welded to what we're trying to do, to the sort of collective mission? And I really enjoyed it. I loved it. It makes me so much more deeply invested in the characters I was playing. I always knew I love the extra context. I love the extra intellectual bandwidth. And I felt very gratified and grateful for the trust of the fellow producers. It's something when you get to contribute, you can help steer the ship and say, like, this is what I think the show is. I remember there was very early on with Loki, for example. I was in Los Angeles anyway, and went to see the executive there, Kevin Feige and Louis D'Esposito and Stephen Broussard, and Michael Waldron had been hired as the head writer, and we met, and he showed me the first episode. And there was a scene with two characters that was lasted about 20 pages, maybe 25. And it was one long scene between Mobius and sort of deep psychoanalytic discussion with a lot of dialogue and just two characters in a room. And I remember Michael wondering, do you think this is interesting? Like, it's just two characters sitting in a room talking. And I remember saying, I think this is the show. I think this chemistry and this dynamic is for me was extremely exciting, because I could see how that could be not a kind of still vacuum, but actually an extremely stimulating discussion, which led to all those great scenes with Loki and Mobius. And I loved being able to say that and say, you should, more of this. Don't be frightened of this. This is amazing. Yeah. This is it. Like, let's get these two characters in a room, have even more conversations with them. And I think as we started filming, and the great Owen Wilson was cast as Mobius, I think everybody was like, I remember Kevin Feige saying early on, like, that's the show. We've never done this before. This is really interesting. So I felt very pleased that I was able to sort of to put my hand, to be a hand on the tiller, as it were, and temporarily steer the boat.
We know that there will be a season 2. I'm curious. Obviously, you can't say much of anything, but where do you stand in the process right now? Do you have a sense of what the story you want to tell is in season 2? Or are you going to be? Do you have a time in mind of when you're actually going to start shooting this?
Immediately becoming very careful of what I'm.
Yes, allowed.
I know. We are in time, and we're in the really exciting period of development where we've taken stock of season 1, and again, a number of us, that sort of 6 or 7 people, that same group is its heads together and talking about what we think is the most interesting direction now. We've left the audience with a a sort of enduring image at the end of episode 6, and what happens next. And so it's sort of like it's really fun because we've got the time to be creative about those possibilities. And actually, so much of, as you know, being a creative person is actually having a go in your imagination and taking a path, looking at it, and you go back to the drawing board and you go up with another one, and or maybe an idea from that first scenario can be transmutated to look like something else in the second or third scenario. And that sort of dreaming place is really the most creative time, to sort of be, what do we want this season to be about? What do we want to say? What do we want it to look like? What do we want to take from season 1 and expand on in season 2? And what do we want to maybe leave behind? Or what new elements do we introduce to season 2? So it's a really exciting period of creative thinking for me, and I'm really enjoying it, because yes, I feel privileged to be working with some very, very, very clever, very intelligent people, and they've got a really good handle on this world and these characters, and have great ideas for where it might go next.
I'll save you from getting into too much trouble by allowing you to give away another keepsake to one of our audience members. Who's our next lucky winner, Tom?
Our next lucky winner is, drumroll, Arden Greenway. Congratulations, Arden.
Well done. Well done. You played the game well, Arden. So one of the amazing aspects of being a part of the culture and making such an impact on the culture with a character like Loki is seeing the creativity. You're talking about creativity, the creativity of the fans that have come back at you. And I've experienced just like 1% of this from my association with you over the years. And I've been touched even to see some of the art that that folks have created, including I asked some of the audience members for this to send in some art depicting, yes, you and I. So let's take a look at the I don't even know what to say. Do you?
One of the real greatest hits to me, isn't it? It's flattering, I think.
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
It's back to those days of us in our pajamas. What were we doing? I can't.
That was the slumber party we did. Yeah, you danced, which will never be forgotten in GIF form on the internet, as you well know. Let's go to the next one. There are a few more of these.
Amazing.
Classic.
I feel like I'm back in the TVA and my past is being played. Is being played before me.
A couple more. Let's see. Oh, that's festive for the holiday spirit.
Yeah.
Okay. And last one. Wow. I don't know if my beard has ever looked that luxurious, but I appreciate it.
Oh, mine. Is that based on a photograph we took when you came to see Betrayal?
That's it. Yep, that's it. Yep. I don't think you had the button though, but yes, otherwise an accurate depiction. Thank you for that art, everybody. Thank you guys for your creativity. It's always really amazing to see. Speaking of the holidays, any holiday traditions for you, Tom, that you enjoy? What do you enjoy? Obviously family and friends. Other aspects that stick out to you in the holiday season?
Yeah, definitely. Mince pies, just absolutely festive food. Big fan. Yeah. If you leave the mince pies out in the evening, you can wake up and see them and think, oh, I'll just have one now. Christmas music, I have a genuine affection for. Yes, we often have to play them all while decorating the house. So, Mariah Carey, staple. 13, and those are the sort of top three, I think.
You got to also think of. I was thinking of you, and I was thinking like, what's a good Christmas gift? What's a good holiday gift for Tom? And I bought this, and I was going to send it to you, but then my dog literally ate it yesterday. This is the beloved. As you can see, my new dog decided,
Hiddleston.
Nope,
Yeah.
this is hers now. So I'll have to get you another one.
So sweet. That's well, of course your dog ate it. That's the whole point. That's the. If you didn't know that that's the point of a soccer ball, then, or a volleyball even, then what are you even thinking? Yeah.
Well, I'm a relatively new dog owner, so that shows what I know. You were mentioning holiday music. By the way, everybody, that's not a non sequitur. Tom loves Castaway. That was our last conversation. I'm not just a crazy person that's like, I'm going to get him a Castaway ball. Holiday music. We were talking before. A friend of mine who has been a big part of Happy Sad Confused as well, a very talented actor by the name of Skylar Aston. He's on a great show called Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, has an amazing voice. He was kind enough to contribute a song. So let's take a minute to enjoy the vocal talents of the great Skylar Aston.
Hi, Josh. Hi, Tom. Hi, Happy Sad Confused peeps. It is your old pal, Skylar Aston. I wanted to hop on here and play you guys a little holiday song, give you a little holiday exchange, because the holidays definitely make me think of food and family, but they also make me think of all the tunes. And while I do celebrate Hanukkah, this one holds a special place in my heart because I've had many adopted Christmases, and this song almost feels like it transcends the holiday. It almost feels universal. It feels like snow, like the season. It just hits different, as the kids say. So I hope you enjoy and feel free to sing along. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays.
Amazing. Amazing. Do we have Tom back? I think we lost Tom.
I'm so glad you. I'm back. Amazing. Amazing. I'm so glad you asked him to do that and not me. What an extraordinary voice. I know.
So moving. Oh my God, I got goosebumps. Really,
yeah, goosebumps. He went up the octave. You know, that's
good stuff.
It's not for kids. That's
no,
for the pros.
That's a professional. My thanks again to the great Skylar Aston. Check out his show, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist on Roku if you haven't already.
Thank you,
yes, thank you, Tom. So looking forward, what one project in the can? Is it the Essex Serpent? Is that the one thing that we have shot that we haven't seen yet?
The Essex Serpent, yes, is in the can. I'm pleased to say. Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, what can you say about that? The great Claire Danes is involved. What drew you to this project? What can we expect from this?
The great Claire Danes, the great the great the great Clémence Poésie. Who else is in it with me? Those are sort of the principal characters. And then some really breathtaking, actually, some fantastic actors, quite a bit younger, who you may have seen. It's an adaptation of a novel by Sarah Perry, which was published about 5 years ago, called The Essex Serpent. And it will be a 6-part miniseries for Apple TV+, directed by Clio Barnard, who I think is one of the great British directors of our time. She directed a film called The Selfish Giant a number of years ago, which I loved, and The Arbor, and Dark River with Ruth Wilson. It's just and the story is about Claire Danes plays a widow called Cora Seaborn, and Cora is recovering from a very unpleasant and unhappy marriage, and her husband is now passed away, and she's almost released by it, but also full of complex grief and uncertainty. But she's living in a time of 1893 in London, which is charged with change. A new author has burst on the scene with a piece of writing you may have heard of called The Origin of the Species, and the author's name is Charles Darwin. And this publication is kind of rearranging the way people think about life and the world we exist in it as human beings. And actually, there has been, and there was, a real life earthquake in Essex. Now, for those who are not familiar with the details of the geography of the United Kingdom, Essex is the county on the easternmost east coast of England, which sort of abuts the North Sea, on the other side of which is the coast of Denmark. And it's a very ancient place, and full of, the landscape of it is marshland, very tidal, very, very foggy, very misty, very spooky, very gothic, very dangerous. If the tide comes in and you're in the wrong place, you're in real trouble. And there was a real life earthquake in 1893, and it dislodged all these fossils, and the sort of the simple community, villages, but perhaps the earthquake has also dislodged a creature from ancient folktale, a winged dragon, which stalks the waters of the Blackwater estuary and is coming to steal your children. Kind of like a Loch Ness monster figure. And things are going wrong, and there are holes in the fishing nets, and a teenage girl has gone missing. And I play the vicar of the community, a man called Will Ransom, who is married to Stella, played by Clémence Poésy, and he's trying to contain the anxieties of his community. Cora comes to visit looking for fossils, and because she's read Darwin, she's interested that maybe there is, maybe there is such a thing as this serpent, and it sparks a really interesting relationship between Cora and Will, where they're competing ideas that yield a friendship. They start to form a very complex bond. I don't want to sort of just spoil where it goes, but it's a story about uncertainty and how we manage uncertainty, and how we, if you don't know the answers to the questions in your mind, our imaginations can turn against us, and the middle of the night can lie to us, and you start believing things that aren't true, and it can be very destabilizing. I found it a very contemporary story set 100 years ago, or 150 years ago, and very different, very new material for me. I loved Will is a fascinating character in that he's got this very calm, rational, containing energy. He's a man of deep faith, very private faith, but also an intellect, and someone who would have read Darwin, and finds his own faith challenged in lots of ways. And the center of it, I think it happens to all the characters in the story. So it has this gothic quality of, it's almost spooky, but it's also very tender. It's a very tender story about love and trauma, and sort of a crisis of the soul.
Yeah. I know we're over time. Do you have time for one more fan question before I let you go on this?
I'm sorry, I went very long on that answer, but I am very excited by it.
It sounds awesome. No, I think everybody watching is like, we're in, bring it on. This last question comes from Misha. I don't want to skip it because she's so adorable. Check it out.
Hello, Mr. Hiddleston. This is Misha from Georgia. I'm a huge fan of yours. Through your words, you have inspired and motivated so many people. My question for you is, have you ever considered writing a book or becoming a playwright in the future?
Wow. Misha, you are so kind. I mean, that, first of all, just thanks for saying that. And I find it, you've warmed my heart. I haven't, well, to be honest with you, I did write a play once, but I kind of locked in a vault somewhere. Maybe I will one day. Never say never. Never say never. I think I currently haven't, kind of not writing anything at the moment, but you've given me an idea. So maybe never say never. Maybe one day. Thank you, Misha.
Let's end with our last giveaway winner. You should have one more name on your list, Tom. Who is our last recipient?
Last on the list. Congratulations, Deborah Morris. Did you lose me?
Up. I think yes. Let's say it again for the record.
Deborah Morris. Deborah
Morris.
You won something. I do know I know what they are, but I don't know specifically how they've been apportioned. So I hope you enjoy it when you receive it.
Congratulations, Deborah. All right, some thank yous and goodbyes. Before we go, I want to remind folks, if you are inclined, check out harlem-is.org and see what it has to offer. If you want to offer up another donation, amazing. If not, thank you for just checking it out. I want to thank all of you guys around the world for joining us for an hour tonight, this morning, whatever time zone you're in. We really appreciate it. I want to thank the folks at Symphony Space who are always awesome at hosting these kinds of events. They've been great. I want to thank Sammy Heller, my trusty producer. And of course, I want to thank the man, Mr. Tom Hiddleston, who is always just absurdly generous with his time. Thank you, my friend, as always. One of these days we'll see each other in person, but for now, this will have to suffice. I hope you have a great holiday season, man.
Thank you. And you. I hope it's full of love and laughter and life. You're very kind to me and I appreciate you, sir. Thanks for having me. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and have a wonderful holiday.
Thanks everybody. Happy holidays. Good night.
Bye.